Hello, podcast listeners, and welcome to the Core Health Collective show. My name is Ben Bowen, and on this podcast, we will be exploring what it means to be an entrepreneur in the health and wellness industry. We will explore the many opportunities and challenges we go through to improve the human condition with the products and services we sell. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Core Health Collective show. On today's episode, we have none other than Brandon Ruttan, who is my partner and co-founder in a new venture that started in 2022, so last year, called Stoked Sauna Co, where we did a test in the market to see, did people want to enjoy a traditional Finnish sauna and cold plunge, in a downtown setting, beautiful patio, reduce stress, be around community, new people. And we just basically ended our 4-month test. And we're going to spend a little time talking about, what we've learned over the last few months. So let's welcome Brandon to the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so this is kind of a new format. We meet, once a week, talk about the business, see how it's going. But I thought it would be a good idea for us just to kind of encapsulate the first season in a conversation. So, we'll cut to the punchline first. I think we both agree it was a successful season. We had, just under 1,000 sessions, 4.5 months almost of open time, 4 days a week, and lots of great things have happened. Why don't we start at the beginning where every great story begins? So, we knew each other for about a year or so prior to starting this venture. And we would see each other around the office working on our day jobs, as we would call them. And I approached you and said, I'm looking for somebody similar to you to help me run the day-to-day. It's not really day-to-day, but the day-to-day as it sat for Stoked Sauna Co. And, what was your thought of, besides what the heck is Stoked Sauna Co? And, what were you thinking that day? How was that conversation for you?
I'm someone who keeps my ears open to opportunity. I don't always take opportunities when they come. And I was busy as well with my day job too. So I wasn't quite sure if it would be achievable or not for me to kind of put in my schedule. But obviously I wanted to hear more because we had talked for about a year, and my first impression of you is you were a great dad. And then I read your book that you had recommended to me. And then, you're a good businessman as well. So I think you're somebody that I could definitely partner up with and achieve some things for sure. Really didn't know a lot. So I just needed to find out more from you, and as we did.
Okay. So I pitched you on the idea. Let me see if I can do this right. So we've got an outdoor Nordic experience. Basically, if we simplify it, we've got 2 saunas, 2 cold plunges, a meet and greet tent, a fire pit. We've got some torches, some beautiful stacks of wood, and we're right on a patio beside a fabulous restaurant and hotel. So that's it in a nutshell. And so what did we run for people? Like when people showed up, what happened? Let's make sure all of our listeners know exactly what are we talking about here. What did we do?
Yeah. So people would come in, usually to a welcoming environment, welcoming with a big smile and how are you, that sort of thing. We would show them where the change rooms are. They go get dressed, come down to the greeting tent, sign our waivers that people usually would go, what's going to happen here? And then basically we would start in the cold tub. We'd lead these people through a 75-minute guided sauna and cold tub session. We start with about 1 minute in the cold tub. And then we have a bit of rest, kind of get our body back to regular temp again, go into the sauna for about 18 minutes, come out, a little bit of rest in between, 2 minutes in the cold tub, sauna for 15, 3 minutes in the cold tub, and then we sauna for 12. And all that takes about 75 to 90 minutes. And people leave feeling like $1 million.
Awesome. And, you and I have done that same session. You more than me this year, but, 100 times maybe. A
lot of times.
So you mentioned guided, and of course I know this, but my job is to create a good interview for our listeners to know exactly what we're talking about. So you say guided. So what does guided entail, and why did why did you think it was important at the beginning of the season, and what are your thoughts on it now?
Well, backing up, when you said guided the first time, I had done some research on sauna guides and stuff like that, and I noticed that they were like in the sauna with them, talking about like breathing and stuff like that. And I kind of thought that I was going to be in the sauna for 8 hours a day, so I was
Oh,
wondering how that was actually going to work out.
I didn't
Um,
know that. You didn't share that with me. I love this
yeah, I was
conversation
like, okay,
already.
so I'm going to be wearing a bathing suit all day all day, 4 days a week in the winter. This is going to be interesting. I wonder how I'm going to stay warm in between sessions and how am I going to hydrate this whole time? Because like before this, I didn't have a ton of sauna experience, a little bit the last year, just kind of on a weight loss journey, but I didn't know a lot about sauna guides and that sort of thing. But what guides mean for us really is we're timing everything. When people come in and they're a little unsure about the cold tub, we're encouraging them, telling them about the benefits of it, and just kind of helping them feel like they could do this and giving them just strong encouragement, really. And I find that probably 90% of people with that encouragement did the cold tub, and they also did it sometimes 3, 4 times as long as they thought they could, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. We're definitely going to get, forgive the pun, into the cold tubs and that conversation a little bit more, because I found that fascinating. Kind of the anecdotal research we were developing along the way this winter. Just like, let's just move it to the side of the table right now. As far as from the science and the benefits around sauna, we won't get into a lot of that today, but I'll put some resources I'll in the show notes. There's some really great resources that we use that other people listening can certainly access and get really geek out in the science, which we love. But cold and hot heat exposure, on the long term, there's some really good research that's come out of mainly Finland. The oldest and best research is widely known that it comes from Finland. And long-term benefits, there's a massive decrease in heart issues or heart disease, a massive decrease in Alzheimer's, in dementia, which when I say massive, we'll link up the research, but 40 some odd percent for all three of those. In the short term, this stuff just destroys stress. And that's the thing that I love the most. It also induces great sleep. It also induces great mood. It also induces fat loss. So there's a lot of great short-term benefits, which is so important in a 2023 world, right? What's in it for me today, right? The long-term is like a bonus, but very few people are willing to do something that's hard today for a long-term benefit, 20, 30, 40, 50 years out. But on the short-term basis, just the way that we are smashing stress, like I am so proud of that. And I feel it when I'm there. I know you feel the same way, but I think that's the coolest thing. If we were to pick one out of the hat of like, which one are you most proud about? For me, short-term is stress, and long-term, it's all of them. How about you? Like, how have you seen kind of this transformation from some of our clients?
Yeah, mine kind of goes hand in hand with the stress decreasing. I would say the improvement of mood when people come out of the cold tub, like it lights you up. You have to do it to know the feeling. But when you go into the cold tub and you've just finished something that you thought was crazy, and you heard about your friends sitting in bathtubs with ice and you thought they were crazy for years, and then you go and do it yourself and you get out and you just feel like you want to do a 10-foot tuck jump because of all the energy that you have. I think that's pretty impressive. And like, I like that because when you're going into an environment, when you have, 10, 12 people that you don't really know everyone, they're all kind and great and like-minded, but you might be a little bit nervous. You go into the cold tub, you come out, and then you go into a sauna with a bunch of strangers. You're all laughing and going like, holy crap, what the heck did we just do? Feel great. It's a great icebreaker.
Yeah, the dopamine and serotonin release is undeniable.
Yeah.
Would you say it's impossible to get out of a cold tub in a bad mood?
Well, I haven't seen it. But I've seen some people go in like, I don't know, I think acting more negative than they actually were. But then they come out and, they're like, okay, I'll try a little bit more next time. And then like the last few sessions that we had, there's a couple ladies that I can think of that were like, I don't know if this is for me. You guys are crazy. And by the end, they were doing it more than their friends were. So
Really?
it's interesting how people do come in sometimes like, I don't know what to expect. And I haven't seen one person leave upset or angry or even close.
That's awesome. I remember at the beginning of the season, I had some anecdotal statistics just from my own experience of inviting friends to do cold exposure. And, I kind of extrapolated that out that for every 10 people I ask, 5 will say yes and 2 will show up. But I'm not sure that now that we've had, almost 1,000 people through, I'm not sure that those stats are accurate, at least what we've experienced. So how would you frame that of like, every 10 people that come, how many say they'll do it and how many of them actually do it?
Well, it's kind of like having a personal trainer, like having the guide, because a lot of people thank me after that I was there because they said they wouldn't have done it if we weren't there to encourage them to do it. So it really depends on the setting. But I would say in our setting, it seems like by the end, close to 100% of people at least try to get in the cold tub.
So that guide, having that guide there is like the variable that I hadn't experienced before. And it's huge, right? Like, like if we're talking like my anecdotal amongst friends is like 20% will do it. And we're going to like somewhere between 90 and 100%. And the only change really is, well, I guess it's two variables that we need to respect. Number one, they paid for it.
Exactly. Right? They looked for it.
Yeah. And number 2, they've got a guide there reassuring them. And probably number 3, they have the other people, whether they're their friends or other people that they met during the session, doing it as well.
Yeah. Now I can say that not everybody that came into this actually expected the cold tub. Some of them didn't. It was an oversight. They didn't realize that we had a cold tub at all. So they would, it's funny how some people's guards would go up a little bit when they realized the cold tub was there. And then they realized that's the first thing we do. It's just so funny. But anyways, carry on.
Yeah. So let's talk about the difference for our customers when we change the order of operations, because just for our listeners, what we believe in is if you're going to be if you're going to do these sessions in the morning, you kind of want to start on heat, end on cold in a triple cycle, or you could certainly start on cold, but you still want to end on cold in the triple cycle. And then as you get later into the afternoon and into the evening, you want to start with cold and end with heat. And that sounds really nice, right? Let's end with heat, which is a nice way to end, except for having to start with cold, which is much harder. So break that down a little bit, because you've got a much better experience with our customers. You were fortunate to get to work with our customers every single week, where I was not. I learned a lot from you and Isaac and Tara and Annalise, our other guides through the season, and a little bit when I was there. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about that difference in the order of operations.
Yeah, like I said before, like I find with the cold plunge, it really is the best icebreaker. Like even before you get to the cold plunge, pardon me, my son's screaming upstairs if you can hear that, but happy screams. Okay, all good. Happy screams anyway. But they, when you start talking about the cold plunge as the first thing before they even see it, it already gets you, kind of fired up and I don't know, nervous in a little way, but like a good nervous. And where we didn't have that before, we just started with the sauna. I don't know, it's just so much different without that like switch in energy. When people come in, they're coming into a spa, they're coming in kind of maybe slow usually. And then you're going into a sauna, which is also kind of like warm and cozy, like, like your bed would be. But then when you hear about this cold tub that you got to go in, you can imagine how it would switch your thinking, right? And then you actually physically do it. And like I said, like when people get together in the sauna, it was a lot different. I could hear when I'm stoking the fire behind it, I can hear laughs inside when we did the cold tub first more often. But when we were doing the sauna first, you could tell it was a little bit more awkward kind of in the beginning. And so for me, the social aspect I find really changed with the cold tubs. As far as the benefits and everything go, I mean, I think we had one member that was there a month before we did the cold tubs first, and then he was there after we started doing the cold tubs first, and even a couple weeks into us doing the cold tubs first before going into the sauna, he wouldn't do it, but finally got him into it, and he says he does prefer. So I at least have one person that has gone through the transition and can agree that it was a good change.
Oh, that's good. I think I know who you're talking about. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So before we move over to the heat side of it, so the cold tubs, what's the target temperature? And then what was the temperature that we were typically at? Because, being outdoors, you only have so much control.
Yeah, I think the target's like 40 to like even 55 at the highest end. And this is Fahrenheit. But our temps usually sat between, in the dead of winter, 36 to like 42 on a warm day. So it was shocking for sure. But not like dangerously cold or anything, just very shocking. Not quite freezing, but felt like you were.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There were some days where we were not breaking some ice up for sure.
Yeah.
And
that same member.
Sorry, go ahead.
That same member that I spoke about, he was sitting very still the one day, and you could see the ice forming around his wrists the one day in the cold tub. It was pretty cool.
Epic. Yeah. And certainly the change in the season. So we had, a number of people that came once, a number of people that came twice, and then we had a whole collection of members that came several times a week. And, and then you and I had our own experiences as well throughout the whole season. And it's interesting to see like the change in the experience and the outcomes depending on the temperature, because there's a very big difference at showing up when it's, +3 on a sunny day, still cool, but +3 Celsius on a sunny day, and getting in a cold tub first versus showing up when it's -20 Celsius and going in the cold first. Like, it's a very different experience.
I kind of have something to say about that, because in your mind, it seems like it would be a lot harder to show up in the -10-degree weather and then get into the cold tub versus showing up at +5 and then getting into the cold tub. But I find because the air was already so cool in the winter and then you're going into the cold tub, it wasn't as much of a shock, I guess, and you were already almost like prepped for it. Now I hear a lot of people, when our cold tubs are sitting around 40, 42, which has been 4-6 degrees warmer than all season, they're saying, wow, the cold tubs are really cold today. Like, I'm getting worse at this or something. But I think it's because the outside air temperature is warmer. So it's making you feel like it's so much colder in the cold tub.
Yeah, I would agree. I was surprised at how it seemed a little less jarring when it was really cold out getting in. And I didn't actually even know that until it had warmed up and I experienced it, and I experienced the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So you are an amazing sauna guide. All of our customers loved you. Lots of reviews online saying that your approach was incredible. All of our guides were amazing. You were definitely the teacher for everybody, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Talk to our listeners a little bit about first time cold plunge. What's the process? What should you expect? What should you do? And what does success look like?
So first time cold plunge, you definitely don't want to walk up to it like the typical first time checking out the temperature of the pool day and dipping your toe in, to see the temperature first. Just excuse me 1 second, because I got to plug in my laptop here.
Yeah, go for it.
All good. All right. So yeah, like, people aren't quite sure what to expect. I think they're expecting it to be way colder than it actually is. What I find is in the first 30 seconds that somebody sits down, there's this, especially in their first 1 or 2, there's this like panic mode, fight or flight, that kind of kicks in. And you really want to flight. You do not want to sit there. So we warn people of that there's probably about 30, 45 seconds where you're going to go, holy cow, holy cow, holy cow, I want to get out. And now that they know that, they actually fight through it, and they're able to get through that, and then finally kind of enjoy the cold tub and start to feel warmth in a way, which is interesting for somebody who's never done it, I'm sure, to hear. But yeah, and then I think one thing that really helps is breathing, definitely through it. Deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, focusing on your breathing and not focusing so much on how cold you are. And just trying to be mindful of how good this is for you, and knowing the benefits. So when you have the guide out there kind of talking about them a little bit, you're doing something good for your body. It's going to help you kind of get through it for sure. But hopefully I answered that a little bit. I distracted myself with the herder there.
No, that was perfect. And let's debunk the myth a little bit that, based on our experience. And I think putting almost 1,000 people through this in the last 4 months gives us some pretty good research. Like, we're probably in the top 200 researchers now in the world. I don't know. It's a made up number, 200, but I don't know anybody that has 1,000 guinea pigs in the last 4 months for cold and heat as a combination over a 75-minute period. But I think it's fair to say that, there's a lot of chatter online about cold plunge. It's getting trendy. It's making good reels. It's busy on the gram and Snapchat and TikTok and everything. And there's this misnomer that you can't really get through a cold plunge session without some sort of breathing, most commonly Wim Hof tactics. And what's our experience been? Do you need Wim Hof to be able to get in a cold plunge? And I'm not taking anything away from the guy, because he opened my eyes to cold plunge, even being a valuable tool for wellness. But let's talk about our experience. Is that necessary?
No, I would say that that's not necessary from what I've experienced. I can say that breathing sometimes has helped people, and sometimes it helps me, to really focus on it. I think the point of it is to warm your body up a little bit before you're going into the cold tub. That's why the breathing is so important. But it seems to me that people are able to achieve this without doing those exercises beforehand.
Yeah, and certainly
lots of people
doing those exercises will give you a different experience as well. And you could do it with, or you could do it without. Sometimes I'll do some breathing when I'm just feeling colder for some reason. I'll just go back to my breath, which is helpful. But sometimes just being in that community environment, having a conversation makes the 2 to 5 minutes go very quickly, which is also kind of nice. So you and I, we agree pretty heavily on the work of Andrew Huberman when he talks about, reaching 11 minutes a week is the target for really maximizing the health, short and long-term benefits of cold plunge. Certainly doing more of that is totally fine. There's a lot of research that talks about, starting your day with a 3 to 5 minute cold plunge, which will get you certainly well over that 11 minutes. But 11 minutes seems to be that target. If you can hit that a week, you're maximizing your wellness outcomes as it relates to things that cold plunge can affect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We definitely hit our 11 minutes a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes 11 minutes in a day these days we can do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, depending.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got cold. Good conversation around that. Definitely probably the most interesting conversation for you and I think for other people, because sauna is something that people either experienced, or that they think of it akin to a hot tub, or it's just not that hard to imagine. But let's talk a little bit about the sauna. And so describe the types of saunas that we had, and maybe some things that people may not realize about doing sauna, that unless they came down and gave it a try.
Yeah, well, my first thought about sauna was you just sit in this thing and sweat, and then you leave and you're a little bit lighter, and you're a little bit more relaxed. That was kind of my first impression. So a lot of people probably come with that. There's a few different types of saunas. That's another thing that I didn't realize when I had started. We have infrared. That's not what we have, but there's infrared. there's electric, there's a few other kinds as well. And we have wood fire saunas, hence Stoked. Now these saunas are cedar barrel saunas. So I find the heat is just amazing in these. I use a sauna at Good Life where I work out, and it's an electric sauna. It's not the worst thing ever, but it definitely doesn't give you that thermal heat that that you get out of these wood fire saunas. And not to mention the smell as well. Like just smelling the wood burn and everything is so nice. Like I think everybody likes that campfire smell when you're around a campfire with your family, and it kind of just reminds me of that every time you're out Stoked. So yeah, sorry, guide me here with these the sauna question, Ben. I think I lost myself.
So I think lots of people thought I'm gonna go sit in a sauna and I'll relax. Just like you said, you sweat a little bit and that's it. So first time sauna users or people that hadn't used a sauna in a long time or never really knew how to use it, their first time we put them in for 18 minutes in their first round, roughly 18, depending on the temperature of the sauna, roughly 15 the second round, roughly or 12 minutes for the third round. Again, depending on the person, depending on the temperature. We saw all sorts of interesting behavior when people popped in for their first 18-minute session.
Yeah, that's for sure. We definitely did. So depending on how well we did to let them know certain things, like maybe don't put a whole bunch of water on the rocks when you first get in, or things like this. Like one thing we've noticed is that people like the sound of the water, but then they realize, holy crap, it's getting really hot in here. And so we need to make sure that we're, telling people to maybe only do one in the beginning and then at a 2-minute warning, do another one so that you can actually last the 18 minutes. Most people I find at a minimum, we're getting on the first round, at least 10 minutes. And if they did the cold tub, they would probably be closer to achieving that 18 minutes because they were going in a little bit colder and having to heat up more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people underestimated the last few minutes. So like even you and I will go in and do an 18-minute session. And it's like that last, depending on the day, depending on the temperature, 2 to 4 minutes where it starts to become a bit of a struggle.
Oh yeah. I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't really do cardio. I don't at all really, unless it's walks with the dogs. But,
it's okay.
The
sauna,
sauna,
he's still in his 20s. It's all right. Everyone right now is like, okay, let's shut this podcast off. This guy looks like he's like 3% body fat and he doesn't do cardio.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm just saying that the sauna seems to work really well for me in my 20s, but I don't do cardio. And I find by 15 minutes in, it feels like intense cardio. Like the cardio, that you don't want to do because it's uncomfortable, but you need to push through that a little bit. And then, the reward on the other side is so good. But you don't have to run anywhere, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, there's really solid research that says, and I don't have it exact, but it's really close that a 18 to 20 minute sauna is similar to a 3 to 5K run, depending on intensity of the temperature. So yeah, and I've experienced the exact same thing for sure. It was part of I'm not going to say it was a part of a weight loss journey for me. Sauna a few years ago became a sleep journey, and weight loss, paired with solid nutrition, but weight loss was definitely like a secondary effect that I wasn't looking for necessarily, but I realize now I definitely needed. But yeah, that last few minutes, that's really where the hard work's being done. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? It's that last rep or that last 2 reps that you do when you're, doing chest press or bicep curls or something. It's the ones that suck are the ones that really build for the future and give you the highest level of benefit as well. And it's the same in sauna. And as guides, we have to make sure we strike that balance between pushing somebody too hard where they'll definitely be way too dehydrated. They could get dizzy. They could be short of breath. We want to make sure we avoid those, but we also want people to sit in it while it sucks for a little bit, right? While feel like they're overheating, all their pores are wide open, pouring sweat. the more of those minutes you can get at the end, before you reach the danger zone, is important. And that's kind of why we do the 18 minutes, right? Because, for our general person or client, 18 minutes is good. We could do 20, but for some people, we just don't want to push them. But we've seen, people come out after 3 minutes in the sauna, right? And I think it's gotten a little
Yep.
better as the season's gone on. But
Yeah.
we did see some of that at the beginning. And I think it just took extra education from the guides.
Yeah, for sure. And starting with the cold tubs was a big change to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have let's before I forget, we have an amazing oil provider. Maybe you can chat
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit about that. We have a killer scent that we use in all of our sessions.
Yeah. Her name is Jessie from Mellow Cali. She's wicked. But she's been providing our scents this season. And so we've been using orange and eucalyptus mixed together. I think she might even have lemon in there. Sometimes you get the peppermint eucalyptus, but either way, we always have a good scent going in the saunas to put on the rocks or splash on the walls to kind of bring out some of that cedar smell as well with the scent, and get a little bit more humidity. But it's been really nice to have her around. And not to mention, she takes some pretty impressive photos that are up on her Instagram too.
All right. Well, I'll make sure I tag her up on this episode as well, so people can find her content, because Brandon's right.
Yeah.
She has some amazing content and amazing products,
for
and
sure.
it's been a really awesome partner of ours this year. So 2 more parts that I think we should chat about. We'll save my favorite for last, which you may not even know, but it's my favorite. Let's talk about our partnership with the Frontenac Club. So for everybody that's listening, we are located on a gorgeous limestone patio of the historical Frontenac Club, which was renovated into a boutique hotel and restaurant just before the pandemic. Sean, I hope I don't get the year wrong, but I think it was opened up again in 2019 or very close to that. Anyways, they've been a great partner of ours. And we're figuring we're somewhere between 40 and 50% of our customers end up being their customers after their 75-minute session. Go inside and have something to eat or a drink.
Oh yeah. And it's great food.
Yeah. Yeah. So great food. One of the things I love, so my favorite part of this whole thing that we've done, which was a big test as well, and it kind of leads into having the Frontenac Club being a partner and being connected to great food and beverage and great service there, is the community aspect. So we've kind of found our people in Kingston, right? There's roughly 1,000. Next year, maybe that community will grow. That's the idea. People that didn't know about us will find out about us. People that are connected, 2 or 3 degrees of separation, will end up showing up next year, and hopefully our community will grow. But I thought it was really cool of how we brought people together. So, because there was time in the saunas to chat, there was time in the cold plunges to chat and laugh and stress and giggle and scream.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's time around our beautiful fire that we had just to hang out and sit in a chair and decompress after your sessions or in between each cycle. And we saw strangers connect. And you saw it more than I did. And I'd love to get your feedback on it, because I think after the pandemic, people are craving community, but they don't really know how to comfortably access it.
The crazy thing is until you kind of say that, like being there every day that I'm there, it does not feel like there was ever a pandemic. It just feels like people getting together, being social, achieving their goals, going on their wellness journey together, like-minded people. It's all good. It didn't feel pandemic-y or anything like that. It just felt like we were through it for once. And it felt good. It was a good winter.
And there were a few times where you would say, hey, we've got a group today, and half the group knows each other, half the other half know each other, and they're very different people. And we don't need to go into how we viewed them as being kind of different in either age or gender or interests, but very different. And you had some amazing stories about how they just all bonded over the experience as a common conversation.
Yeah. Well, what I found is, you could have 2 different languages and they don't intersect at all. We had English folks, and then we had some people that had Chinese background, and they didn't actually speak English too well. But what I found was the common ground was the laughing and the cheering and the clapping. And it seemed like these people, became to know each other, but they didn't really have any way to communicate other than cheering for each other when they went in the cold tubs and just laughter, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. So we should wrap it up for today. This will not be the last conversation around this topic we have, for sure. I think you and I could talk all day about it. I'll link everything up in the show notes that we talked about today, plus, our site and our Facebook and Instagram for Stoked Sauna Co. We have some amazing things coming in the future. We will not tell anybody now, but the sneak peek is that Stoked Sauna Co. Will be back and continue to operate in the next season. And we're both very excited about that. So this year was a test, and the test was a success. And some of the things we expected came true. Some things that we didn't even think about it all or see coming happened as well. And we had no shortage of new opportunities and unforeseen and potentially unwanted challenges, but we were easily able to solve them along the way. And the feedback from all of our clients was what really kept us going, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely energizes you along the way to see so many happy people come through.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that we were, close to 100% satisfaction, if not 100%.
I'd say 100%.
Yeah, and all we
99.
really did was deliver a guided session of something that has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. And if there could only be a sauna and a cold plunge tub on every street corner in Canada, our mood would be fantastic. Canadians would easily live up to that global reputation we have for being very happy people.
Yeah, we could have like 2 barrel saunas. It's like the wooden arches beside the golden arches, on every corner.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's dream big.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for joining. I will see you later this week, I'm sure, at some point, probably in a cold plunge and in the sauna. But I'm glad we got a chance to lay down this conversation so everybody can, all the listeners can hear what we've been up to the last few months and certainly our perspective on it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Ben. I appreciate it. And it's been wicked working with you. And I can't wait for the next few things we got going here.
Thank you for not only joining us today on the Core Health Collective show, but also thank you for being an entrepreneur looking to make the world a better place.